Welcome, everybody. Thank you for joining us for Willow Legal Group's Coffee Chat. Today we have Joy Levin, and Lindsay's going to introduce her.
Yes. So today we're talking with Joy, and she is the president and founder of Gen X Exec Encore. So in working with Gen X high-achieving professionals, she recognizes that for many, this next phase of post-full-time career life isn't about traditional retirement. It's about creating an encore that blends passion, purpose, and new opportunities. As a market research consultant and entrepreneur for nearly 3 decades, Joy has guided executives and business owners across industries in making strategic, well-informed decisions. Like many Gen Xers, she wants a future in which she can remain productive, explore meaningful pursuits, and build new connections. With an honest, warm, friendly, and highly professional approach, she guides accomplished professionals to discover their next purpose-driven chapter, empowering them to create an encore life with confidence and clarity. So welcome, Joy.
Oh, thanks so much for having me. I was so excited to do this.
Good. Well, I'm really excited to learn more about what you do. I know a little bit, and it's such an interesting kind of emerging area that I definitely was like, we need to get you on here so we can like help you spread the word, because I think it is one of those things that, as you know, what did someone tell me? I'm a baby Gen Xer. I'm at the very bottom of the Gen X.
Yeah, Zennial,
whatever. Yeah, like this is very interesting because the thought to me of retirement and, doing nothing is terrifying. So I'd rather work my whole life. But,
I was going to say, listening to Lindsay read your bio, I was like, wait a second, Gen X isn't ready for retire. I guess they are.
Yeah. So tell us, what exactly is this nice little niche that you have found, and what do you do with it?
Yeah, so a lot of it is kind of what you touched on in the introduction. And just, what we're finding is that a lot of people, are getting ready to retire. And when you think about when they first came up with like Social Security and the concept of retirement, it was maybe a 5-year endeavor. Like you just weren't expected to have that much more gas in the tank. And that's completely changed in so many ways. Like people are retiring earlier. A lot of them have at least 10 or maybe more, 10 or 15,000 more days ahead of them. And so to think of like just being on the golf course or whatever for that long, it doesn't work. So it's really about figuring out, okay, you've got this huge amount of time left. You want to make the most of it, and you want to do things that are aligned with your values, that kind of leave a legacy that you want to leave, and that kind of give you some direction in how you want to shape these next years, decades of your life in a productive way that's meaningful and purposeful. Because a lot of times what happens is, Lindsay, exactly what you said, where people are like, now what? I have no idea. And it's really overwhelming. A lot of people are like, just like you said, either I'm going to just keep working, or what happens a lot of the times is they stop and then they're like, well, this is not what, I'm just bored and I'm going to go back to work. And then they are like, what did I just do? Like, I just left this. So it's sort of a way of kind of mitigating all those issues in a way that gives a lot of direction and clarity and confidence. So that's essentially what it's about.
That's awesome.
Man, we're going to go home and tell our husbands how lucky they are, because we're planning their retirement for them.
Yes.
As we think of new business ideas, like, we're going to do this, and the husbands can do these parts because that's what they're interested in and passionate about now. So
they are lucky.
Say, you're lucky. Thank you.
Yeah, that's a great idea. I love that. Yeah. Put them to work.
Yeah. So, I know that we mentioned that you have a unique framework that you do to kind of take people through this. So can you walk us through kind of, if we were to come to you when we're a little bit older and say, oh my gosh, we're going to retire, but what's next? Like, how do you take us through that process?
Yeah. So I love that question, because I think it is kind of a unique approach in that it resonates, with a lot of what Gen X has been through. One thing I'll say about the generation is that they are really very resilient and adaptable, because, when you think about it, a lot of them remember like the gas lines of the 1970s and the things that happened in the 80s and the fall of the Berlin Wall. And so what they've come to see is that there are really difficult times like the Challenger disaster or like the dot-com bust or whatever it is. And then that wasn't the end, right? That there were other things that or kind of ways in which they adapted that make it unique. So the framework that I've used is what I call from mixtapes to meaning. So, so a lot of Gen Xers and some boomers and millennials or whoever remember about making mixtapes and how much fun that was. And so it's really kind of built around that, where the first thing we would do is do what I call a rewind. So rewinding the tape to go back and think about, what are some of the things that you have left behind that you would like to take up again, that you've forgotten about or neglected, something you may have done like in a past life that you miss and that you want to recreate. So that, we kind of look at that kind of stuff and say, okay, so here are the things we want to make sure that we include. And then we do a remix. So again, with the whole music thing, where we just are exploring new possibilities by saying, okay, how can we blend all the things we've developed since that time with the things that we want to do? And so it's kind of mixing them up into a way that makes sense now. And then we do kind of a reset where we say, all right, let's let go of some outdated definitions of success and those limiting beliefs and say, okay, this is what I used to be, and this is what I want to become. It's kind of like, when you would say, what do I want to be when I grow up? It's now like, what do I want to do in this next chapter? So it's a way of kind of resetting. And then we reconnect, because one of the things that happens to a lot of people is they retire and their relationships really change, either because people they know are still working, or people have moved, or, I know for a lot of people, like you had a lot of friends that you made because they were your kids' parents' friends, so it's kind of saying, okay, so now what do I like in certain friendships or relationships? Even couples have to reset the whole way of navigating each other. A lot of, like we always say, I married you for better or for worse, but not to have lunch together every single day. So it's a way of saying, how can you reconnect? And then the fifth part is really reviving. It's saying, okay, now we're going to step into action with that confidence and clarity, and make intentional choices that create like a fulfilling encore and a life, whether that can be entrepreneurship, it could be impact driven work, it could be, just a new personal pursuit or a passion project. And what I like to say also is that it's creating a portfolio life. Like you have this financial portfolio, but now you've got a portfolio life that really gives you that much more meaning and fulfillment. So in a nutshell, that's kind of the framework. Yeah.
Well, that's really fun, because the analogy is cute too, but it's fun to go back and think about what used to bring you joy that now you have time to do again.
Yeah.
And I was trying to think of some things too, like, reading, cross-stitching. I used to love cross-stitching.
Yes.
That kind of stuff that I just don't do anymore.
Right. So yeah, it's a way of kind of rethinking it all and figuring out, how that's going to all fit into what's next.
Right.
Yeah. I've heard thinking through this referred to as rewirement.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yes.
Rewiring the way you're handling things.
Exactly. Yeah. It's a very different retirement, I think, than other generations. Because the other thing is we were the first generation to have, the whole digital explosion of things, all the internet. We were the first ones. And so that really impacted a lot of how we worked, and it will impact our retirement in the future, and all the health changes. Everything is so different now. So it is rewiring how we think of it. Yeah.
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 So we talked a little bit about mindset, right? And what, in your experience and the work that you've done with folks, what is the one most powerful mindset shift that Gen X leaders can adopt as they're going through this?
Yeah, I think so. There's a couple of them really. One is, there's this feeling that you're going to lose your identity because you've spent all these years saying, when somebody says to you, what do? You have this pat answer. I'm an attorney. I am a physician. I am whatever you've been. And so it means shifting away from what you've been and what you do to who you are. And so it's really powerful. And it gives you a new way of looking at it. So it's a definite mindset shift in thinking about, this is kind of things maybe I've overlooked in my life, or, in ways that I can bring into my next chapter that is about who I am rather than what I've always done. So that's very different, I think. And another thing that people worry about is losing relevance. Like they feel like I'm just going to be like off in a corner, and totally irrelevant to life. And that's just not true, because there are so many opportunities. And one of the challenges, I think, is trying to figure out, okay, all these options that there are, how do I sort through them to figure out, what I really want to do? So that's a lot of the work we do, is kind of narrowing down and broadening at the same time. Yeah.
Yeah. And I've definitely seen that in like my mom's generation, the boomer generation, for people who are retiring and kind of struggling with that. Who am I now?
Yeah. What do I want to do when I grow up? It's the conversation. My
Exactly.
Yeah.
All the time right now.
And my mom's recently retired, and I'm just like, but what are you doing?
Yeah.
Besides
And, there have been surveys that look at that, ask people, and about 3/4 of retirees say they have seen somebody else struggle with this. So it's a very common thing. And part of it is, realizing that the uncertainty is completely normal. I mean, there's, no reason why you should have this all figured out. It's like when you look for a job, your first job out of college, some people expect you to have it all figured out, but most people knew, okay, you're probably going to go through a number of different jobs first. Yeah.
Yeah. So how does your coaching approach help clients kind of redefine what success looks like when they step out of that corporate role or, entrepreneurial business owner, whatever role?
Exactly. Yeah. And it kind of goes back to that mindset shift, I think, in terms of saying, okay, I've defined success in these very concrete ways. I've had, key performance indicators. I've had, whatever it is, successes or goals or whatever. And so it's really reworking that to saying, okay, in the next year, what are 3 steps I can take to get to this next step? Like you'll lay something out. Maybe you want to write a book. I've worked with people who want to write books, and they'll say, okay, so in the next year, I'm going to come up with a plot or whatever it is. So you make it a lot more manageable that way. And it's not so big. And I think it's the same thing with like leaving a legacy. A lot of high achievers think, okay, I'm going to have to do something huge, right, to leave that legacy. And it's really not. It's about those little things that have a huge impact that we often don't realize. So that's a lot of it. Yeah.
I was thinking when you first started, I was like, you just make personal KPIs.
A lot of people
did I read this month and how many?
Yeah. And, a lot. So one of the things I do for a lot of clients is we come up at the very end, I want them to walk away with something concrete. And so for some people, it's a spreadsheet. For other people, it's like a mind board or whatever it is, but it's something that they can relate to. And that's like the beauty of saying, okay, I'm going to take with me certain things that have served me and leave other things that have served me in my previous role that are not going to serve me in my future role. So it's it can be very creative and fulfilling for a lot of people that way.
Yeah. So what inspired you to kind of go into this? I know your marketing research, I think, was your
yes.
So how did you do that transition?
Yeah, there were a couple of things for me. One was, I had done market research and I still do it. I can't stop. I love it. I just do. And so, as I was working with clients, we were working through like business problems and marketing issues. And I just enjoyed that figuring things out aspect. And so I wanted to hang on to that. But at the same time, I've always been like this naturally curious person. Like, what would it be like to, be a pharmacist or whatever. And so I started thinking, I've been doing this for so long. What else is out there? What else could I do if I wanted to? So that was another thing. And then at the same time, when I would be talking to clients or friends, I would hear them saying these same things. I have no idea what I want to do next. I'm afraid to stop. Or sometimes they'd say, I have this idea, I want to do this, but I don't know how to get from point A to point B. So it was kind of all those things together, and I started looking around and came upon this retirement coaching. And I thought, in so many ways, that includes a lot of what I want to do. So I still do the market research, but now I have this other gig that I enjoy just as much. So that's how.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So if you could give one piece of advice that comes to, thinking about retirement, or folks that are preparing, what's that one thing you wish people would walk away with?
I wish people would realize it's okay to just plan small steps. Nobody, I don't think, can expect you to have the whole idea mapped out, but for you to say, okay, I have this idea, I'm just going to take a couple of small steps, because the best time to do that is before you retire, right? It's when you still have something else going on, so you're not thinking about this all the time, and it's not consuming everything, that you have something to distract you with your regular stuff, but at the same time, you can start to take those little steps. That can be very empowering, and it helps relieve a lot of that anxiety that, I don't know what I'm going to do. And it's just a matter of either starting to think it through, or, realizing this is something that I used to do that I would like to do again. So let me park that in a parking lot. And that way you have something to start with. There are so many statistics that show that, first of all, people think it'll take me 3 to 6 months to adjust, when it really takes, most people say, like a year or longer. So that length of time, a lot of people struggle with that. After 6 months, they're like, I should know what I'm doing by now. And actually, the rate of depression is 2 times as high among retirees as it is among working people. So, you would think, oh my God, all the pressure's gone. And that can be this self-fulfilling thing where they think, why am I feeling this way? I should be thrilled that I have all this free time, but it can also be very intimidating. So just taking those little steps can really help, though.
That's pretty good advice.
Yeah. Wow.
And again, telling our husbands to start thinking now about what we have planned for their retirement, so that when they're ready to retire in 5 years, it'll be perfect.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, I actually love that you're incorporating your spouses, because a lot of people forget that piece, and that leads to all kinds of other stuff like, okay, I'm ready and you're not. And so there's all that other aspect as well of when I work with couples, is figuring out we're on different time frames, we want to do different things, and how do they do that?
That's actually a good point. That I didn't even consider that you might work with couples. So that's good to know.
Yeah. Couples, small groups, sometimes one-on-one. Yeah.
That's awesome. And then I know you do some webinars, some seminar type things too. Okay. Yeah. So, Megan will tell you at the end of this, we'll drop the information in the chat. Right. But yeah, so I know you're trying to kind of get this information out there. So this is awesome.
Yeah. I mean, really helpful.
Yeah. And something I think that a lot of people don't think that there is help with for this, for the retirement, for all of the reasons we already kind of talked about, but.
Yeah, they don't. Because it is kind of a new thing, first of all, and second of all, because we're sort of all caught up in our parents' retirement, and ours will look very different. Yeah.
Yes, I hope so.
It will.
All right. Last question.
So last question, we ask this of everybody. What's the one thing that you can't live without in your day-to-day life?
One thing, oh my gosh, how do I narrow it down to one? I've become so conditioned to working out every day. I find that it gives me so much energy, and I feel so good after. Sometimes I'll think, okay, it's only 30 minutes. It's a 30-minute upper body or whatever it is. And that helps put in perspective so I get through it. But then after it, I'm so glad I did it. And to me, that's part of having this healthy, long life that I fully intend to have. So I would say that would probably be one of the things, because I know when I can't, for whatever reason, I think, ooh, I didn't do that today. I missed that. So yeah, but I'd also have to add in chocolate.
Oh, okay. Well, you got to exercise so you can have all the chocolate. So
yeah, right.
So you're probably I think you're the first person that has actually said exercise.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
good.
Yeah.
Good.
You've probably got a good collection of stuff people have said.
There's some themes.
Yeah.
Coffee is probably
Coffee.
number one.
Coffee,
Okay.
Phone and or computer.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Shows how dependent we've become on that stuff. Yeah.
I know.
I could throw my phone and computer out the window.
But not my coffee.
And
No way.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. This was really interesting, and I'm so glad that you came on. And I'm glad that I met you, because it's just I love meeting people that have these like different jobs. So it's awesome.
Yes. Yeah. Well, I am so glad too. And thank you so much for having me. It was really fun.
this was great. And as Lindsay said earlier, I will drop Joy's information in the comments so you can reach out and connect with her as you look to plan the next stage of your life. So
That'd be great.
all right. Thanks, Joy.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you.